Good evening, everybody. My name is David Robinson. I'm here by myself today. Background music tonight will be provided by John Cougar Mellencamp. I think if anybody out there has watched, you notice that I play a little background music, especially when I do the show by myself. I've played a lot of my favorites. Played Neil Young. I played the Goo Goo Dolls. I think I played Hootie and the Blowfish too. Some of my favorites. Go ahead and post. Tell me what some of your favorites are. You know, if you want some suggestions on, I'd love some suggestions on background music. I got to make a heartfelt note. No co-host tonight. Biggest reason why is that our colleague Anthony Johnson lost his grandfather on Saturday, and he's been back home in Indiana, taking care of the family, taking care of business. We're going to have him back home tomorrow on Thursday, and I just want to wish him all the best. You know, I mean, we all go through things, and it's just tough to lose somebody. It always is. It's tough to lose somebody that you loved, somebody you cared about, even though, like, people get old and we die, but it still sucks, you know? It just sucks. And I hope that him and his family had a few days of solace, and I would really appreciate if you guys would post something about your love for the guy, because I love him. You know what, so we'll get into it. You know, I'm going to do the show a little bit differently today. I want to see how it works. Frankly, I'm going to just try and stay off the phone, try and look at the screen. I'm going to read off my notes, kind of as a tease, because I think that's what they do in the biz. You know, in the business of sports journalism, you know, they always give a little tease, so I'll give a little tease to each matchup, and then I'm going to talk about it, and let me know what you think. So we will start with Week 9 recap. Honestly, we have 8 teams left in the league now. 8 teams that are vying for 6 playoff spots. And I think that it's safe to say at 8-1, I'm in. 4th and 20, Jack's team is in at 6-3. Alex's team at 6-3 is in. Barring just an absolute disaster where they score less than 60 points a week and lose every game. Those 3 teams are in. So, you know, then we're looking at, you know, 5 teams looking for the other 3 spots. It's going to be really interesting because we've got some good teams down there. I mean, hottest team in the league is down in that mess at 5-4, 4-5. So let's get into Week 9 recap. We're going to start off with the Shock and Awe squad. My team versus Derek's team. Auto draft for the win. And my notes say this. Both with bye week trouble. Derek, LeGarrette Blount. Booker versus Lindsey, 2 kickers, Fitz good pickup, work thing in the dark. Both teams had bye week trouble this week. You know, I was dealing with, I was dealing with the Colts on the bye. I was dealing with, I had to look at the phone. Can't do it. All right, now we're back in action now. You know, I was dealing with Colts on the bye. Yeah, I had AJ Green on the bye, and AJ Green, like, actually is injured now, which really stinks. You know, I had some decisions to make because of my depth at running back. I had Chubb and Howard on the bench. You know, Derek starts LeGarrette Blount. I mean, and this is a thing that you have to do in like a 16-man league. I mean, you don't start LeGarrette Blount if there's a 10-man league. There's just players out there. I don't know who was out there last week, but LeGarrette Blount was like projected to score 4 points. The only way that he scores any points with LeGarrette Blount is if he scores a goal line touchdown, and I think it's a terrible play. I talked about last week on Weekly, Booker versus Lindsey, that shared backfield in Denver. We both start. He starts Booker, I start Lindsey, and I think Lindsey's the guy out there, and I think I make the better play. I don't think Booker was a start for him either. I think he could have found somebody better out in Waiverland. You know, Lindsey's the more dynamic player, and he's the one getting the love, especially in passing situations, and you have to have that kind of guy on your squad. Derek has 2 kickers, everybody. Sorry, Tim, I only made fun of you for having 2 kickers. Derek, you have 2 kickers. There's just no reason to ever have 2 kickers. There's none. 0 reason whatsoever. You should be taking a flyer on some rookie that you never heard of, or just pick up the number 1 guy that's available and drop one of your kickers. No reason. I like his pickup of Ryan Fitzpatrick last week. It's a good plug and play. Puts up 26 big fantasy points for him. Derek's playing, so that's why I don't want to beat up on him too much. He's really trying. He's really trying hard. I ended up getting the win this week by 11 points, 125 and 114. And if you don't know out there, obviously I have to work a lot of weekends. And my game plan on Sunday is to try and stay in the dark, stay in the bubble, so to speak. So that I can go home on Sunday evening, pop on Red Zone channel that I DVR'd, and watch 7 hours of commercial-free football in the Octo Box, so to speak. And it's funny the little cues that you pick up from other people's emotions. That nobody's even saying anything to me. But I knew when I got home to watch Red Zone channel that Derek would be ahead during the 4 o'clock games and that I would make a comeback. And sure enough, fourth quarter action, Saints at Rams, game of the week, and Michael Thomas breaks off a 72-yard touchdown pass to give me the win. Not to mention Cooper Kupp put up 17 as well. I think Derek thought he had me, and then he quickly realized that he did not have me. Second matchup we're going to look at is the Lone Rangers versus Anthony's Ridiculousness Squad. I think the highlight of last week's show was definitely Prater has the ball, and he's going to score! Shout out to Mike for that. That was really good. It was a classic moment in Fantasy Weekly. We were talking about it at work, and I think that Anthony even declared that if Prater scored a touchdown, he would forfeit the victory. And you know what? I think I actually would have gone along with it because Tim needs a win. But it doesn't really matter. He has no wins. Oh, I'm supposed to do the notes first. So Prater with the ball, poor drafting, biggest performances, McCaffrey, Frisco's defense, and Ridley plays. We did the Prater with the ball thing. Tim it's poor drafting. I touched on last week how fantasy players that drafted Robert Gronkowski have really been put in, pushed against the corner, really not having a very good overall record. And Tim is a great example of that because Tim had to waste a second-round draft pick on Robert Gronkowski, and he didn't even play last week. Matt Stafford was drafted by him early as well. Stafford's had a pretty poor fantasy year. His biggest performances this season have been out of tight ends that he's picked up out on waivers and then dropped. Jared Cook was his biggest performance this year at like 24 points in week 1. Dropped. O.J. Howard for Tampa Bay, another one of Tim's biggest performances this season, is a tight end that any of us could have picked up on waivers, and those are his 2 biggest performances of the year. I know he's still waiting for one of those kickers to come through with a 40-point performance, but I gotta say it. I think we're looking at our first 0-13 team. Christian McCaffrey has really put himself in the echelon that next year when we're doing fantasy drafts, this guy is going to be a top 3 pick, if not number 1 overall. He is James White-like in the passing game, maybe just as good as James White in the passing game, maybe better. But he gets carries in the red zone. And this guy is solid, and he's scoring touchdowns now. And I think, what does he put up for Anthony last week? I got to look it up, but I think it was close to 30, maybe even a 30-burger. A 30-burger. Christian McCaffrey, solid draft pick. I don't know if he had to reach to get him, but that's something that in my other league that I was willing to reach to get, and maybe even draft him in the first or second round. Apparently this is a John Mellencamp mix, so you're going to get a little bit extra, and I don't know if I'm going to have to break out in glory days here, but I might have to, by Bruce Springsteen. He picks up San Francisco's defense, puts up a huge number on Thursday Night Football for him, gets him off to that early lead. And that's just a good pickup. I mean, he picks up a defense. I mean, those are 2 poor teams, but Frisco's playing at home. Oakland's a dumpster fire. Frisco's actually trying to rebuild a little bit. At least they know the season's over. They don't have Gruden, just trying to dump everything away. And, they're starting a new quarterback, trying to give him some love. Mullins, I think is the kid's name. So, they're trying out there. And Anthony makes a great pickup, a 15-point defense off waiver wires. The one criticism I had of Anthony's team last week and his managerial decisions is that I think Calvin Ridley on his squad is a starter every week. He should have started Ridley over Amendola. He should have started really over Deshaun Jackson, frankly. When we're talking about boom or bust players, Jackson and Ridley. I think Ridley's the bigger boom prospect there. I think Ridley's the kind of guy that, he's already put up a 40-burger this year. That's the kind of guy you're looking to play to make that big number for you when you're looking at your flex position. Ridley's definitely capable, and that Atlanta offense moves the football. Next matchup is 4th and 20 versus, let's see here, 4th and 20 plays. Lick my Tate, Alex Giddings squad. My notes go, I was right. 4th and 20, starting to play. Ed fucking Dixon. And down week. I was right. This is the only matchup, I believe, last week on Weekly that Mike and I disagreed with. I picked 4th and 20 because of the matchups. I'm always just going to look at this Kansas City Chiefs matchup. And not only was his matchup better last week, it showed. It didn't just show that Kareem Hunt ran the ball a lot and that Patrick Mahomes threw the ball a lot. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball to Kareem Hunt a lot as well. I think for like a 70-yard touchdown pass. And that pretty much just, that's a dagger in the heart for Alex. I mean, a 60-yard touchdown pass from a quarterback to a running back. And, honestly, it looked like Kareem Hunt was playing against the JV squad. 4th and 20 starting to play. Via waivers and stuff, I think you pick up a lot of your best players early in the season that you can have, your Phillip Lindsays, guys like that. Later in the season when you start to play and you go, I really have a chance, you're not going to find much out there. There really isn't much out there. You're looking a little bit more forward as to, what defense am I, when you're an upper echelon team, what defense do I want to pick up now that might be playing a weak team, if that's where I'm weak, or, if you're weak at quarterback, you're trying to pick up a quarterback that has a good matchup in week 13, 14 in the playoffs. And, 4th and 20 starting to play. He's picking up players. His waiver moves are up to 8. He picked up Josh Gordon, Ben Watson in the last couple weeks. And this is the funny thing is the guy still hasn't tried to trade Aaron Rodgers. You can get something for Aaron Rodgers. Even if it's a third receiver, it's good for you right now. I would do that. We're still starting. We started Doug Martin last week. We started Devin Funches last week. We started, what else did we start? Somebody else, Tyler Lockett. Just a bunch of run-of-the-mill players that, sure, there's a possibility of a boom, but, it's unlikely. Ed fucking Dixon. Alex, I'm with you. Bye-week plug-in for me as well in a different league last week. I go, I remember last year, maybe 2 years ago, Ed Dixon, when he was with the Carolina Panthers, put up 250 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Lions. And so he's capable of a big game, and you certainly think he's going to get more than 1 target in the 4th quarter in a desperation play where he has no chance to catch the ball. And he puts up a 0. Just a bagel. It probably wasn't going to make the difference in the matchup, but I'm with you, Alex. I picked up Ed Dixon as well, and he almost burned me in my other league. Not quite, but it was a decent try and plug play because he wasn't the number 1 tight end available, but it was somebody that you thought could get some yardage for you, a score, hopefully, at least more than 1 effing target. Ed fucking Dixon. And just overall, down week for Alex. It was all about the matchups, and his matchup, Goff goes up for a big number, but Gurley only gets him 16. Which, I know a lot of you out there go, I wish my running back would get 16, but he's getting 25 points a week out of this guy. So he lets him down a little bit. Not much else there. Chris Carson, I don't know if he get dinged up in that game. Yeah, he left the game last week, so that kind of burns Alex a little bit. Chicago's defense puts up a huge number for him. I'll touch on that more later. But let's just move on. We'll move on to the next matchup, which had Sweden House Buffet, where the extras don't cost extra, versus Amari Stoudemire. I'm sorry, not Amari Stoudemire, Amari Sodomizer. Come on, Steve.
Caesar.
Clean it up. Grow up.
Politician.
Just kidding. I like it. The Sodomizer gets the win by 11 points. and I always like to say you got to put up one of those numbers, and Mike just didn't put up one of those numbers. Mike only goes up for 89. My notes on this are bye week troubles. Doesn't put up. Houston and Steve points. Bye week troubles for Swedenhouse. He has to deal with bye week troubles and an injury problem. He's got Sony Michel out on Sunday Night Football in that Packers matchup. Marlon Mack out, bye week. Barkley, bye week. Jeffrey, bye week. And then the newly acquired Golden Tate, bye week as well for the Philadelphia Eagles. So really, he just doesn't. He needed to catch a little lightning in the bottle, I think, and he just doesn't. Nobody scores. No touchdowns at all. Just no touchdowns. I think Trey Burton scored a touchdown, and he only got 2 balls. And it's just not much going on. So he just doesn't put up a number. We're going to look at the matchups, kind of how we look at the KC matchups for 4th and 20, the LA Rams matchups for Alex's team, like we look at Mike's matchups, or we look at Steve's matchups for the Houston Texans. He owns the 3 biggest players in the Houston Texans. He owns Deshaun Watson, Hopkins, and Lamar Miller. And they all put up decent numbers for him, except Lamar Miller falls short, but Watson and Hopkins get together for a touchdown. I think Hopkins had 12 targets, 10 catches, 110 yards in a score, which is something you kind of expect out of him. But when it shows up and he performs and you get a win out of it, you gotta like it. Steve points. Steve's just gotta score points. He's at the bottom end of that log jam. I think he is 5-4, but if he gets into a tiebreak situation, he is done because his points are bad, and his points don't get any better this week. Only putting up 100. So Steve's just got to win every week. Win as many games as he can because he's not going to win that tiebreaker when we talk about those 3 out of 5 teams. We're going to move on to the last matchup of Week 9. The Breeze Knees versus. I'm still going to call him Epic Fail. He's changed his name to Team Who Cares, but I think it's more of an epic fail. We will go through the notes real quick. I got a hot team, perfect lineup. Puts up a number, whatever. No digs. Miami 25 points, biggest variance. And James White. James got a hot team. He's got a hot squad. I think every week she's going to be projected to score the most points in the league with the way their teams are performing lately. She starts Drew Brees, as she should every week. Puts up a 30-burger for her. He had a down week the week prior, and I'm glad it didn't affect her judgment on this matchup. Just big numbers across the board. She plays Minnesota's defense on I don't know if she owned them or rostered them or picked them up. She probably rostered them. And they go off for 10 sacks on the Lions. Just a dominating performance by them. 22 big fantasy points out of your defense. Really, this is one of those lineups that if you're playing like daily fantasy, this is a pretty good lineup. This would have made her a few dollars if she's playing daily fantasy. Let's see here. For Epic Fail, puts up a number, but who cares? Because I'm not going to talk too much about teams that are out of the playoffs now. More bad luck. No Stephon Diggs. That's probably somebody who wasted a second-round draft pick on. Injury problems. Adam Thielen is now definitely the, number 1 receiver from Minnesota. And, I got that white boy connection there with Cousins and Thielen. Thielen just gets love. Last week he only puts up 20. I think he only got 4 catches for 22 yards. He does score, so puts up a number. But Thielen's been putting up fantasy numbers on a week-in and week-out basis. And Diggs, injury last week, hasn't been putting up the numbers. Just bad luck. I would have drafted Stephon Diggs. A lot of you guys would have too. I want to talk about this too. The biggest variance that we have in fantasy football, I believe, is your defense. Because your defense is capable of putting up huge numbers by, interception scores for touchdowns, fumbles for touchdowns, a bunch of sack numbers. Both these teams put up huge defensive numbers. That's the thing that can make a win or a loss that you really just have to shake your head and go, man, what am I supposed to do? And James White, I've tried to not make it seem like this guy is just awesome, but maybe he just is. I mean, maybe we're looking at Darren Sproles-like numbers from this guy. I mean, just a truly, true pass-catching running back, and he does it every week. He hasn't had a down week. Double digits every week. James White, great draft. Probably got him 7th, 8th, 9th round, somewhere in there. Definitely benefiting from Michelle being out. He even does get a couple more carries now. I think he even got the ball. He ran the ball in last week. And as his role expands, I don't know that Michelle's going to get all the love back that he may have earned earlier this season. Anyways, moving on to Week 10. I have my notes for Week 10 in matchup 1 is Who Cares versus Who Cares, which would be the Lone Rangers versus Epic Fail. I gotta say, my note is playing a lineup, and I have to congratulate both of you guys, actually, as you're still playing lineups, and that is important to the rest of the players. If you have it down here in fantasy, just remember that next year's going to come around, and you might have another team that had bad luck that you want them to play a lineup every week. Like I might need, Epic Fail or Tim's team to get a win so that I can win the regular season. And it's important that you play a lineup every week. Don't just punt on it and say, whatever. I'm just going to start a guy that's questionable on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football because I don't care anymore. You owe it to the rest of the league to play a solid lineup on a week-in and week-out basis. I'm not saying that you go out there and try and make trades. I'm saying that you owe it to the rest of the league to put up a solid lineup on a week-in and week-out basis. And I appreciate that both of you guys are doing that this week, and I hope it continues. I'm sure it will. Second matchup, I'm going with myself versus Amari's Sodomizer. Right time. Steve's playing. Fournette's back. AJ's out. Tim would love this. Chubb, Peterson, Howard, Jets, and Buffalo. Those are the notes. Let's see what we do with them. I don't know. I'm going to change this to Week 10. Can't do this without a phone, apparently. But when it comes to the first note, right time, I am playing Steve at the absolute perfect time. It is Week 10, and the Houston Texans have a bye. So you know which way I'm going with this matchup, as all of you should as well, is that I am going to win. With him having to, who does he have to play now? So, this goes into my second note that Steve is playing. He picks up Alex Smith, which is not a bad bye week plug-in at quarterback. He's going to play Amari Cooper, who got a touchdown last week for the Cowboys. Oddly enough to say that he plays for the Cowboys, but he plays for the Cowboys. He's playing... he gets Eric Ebron back from the week before, but I don't know if that's going to be a boom anymore. I like it. I think he'll still play well, but it's not going to be the number. He's not going to get those. Doyle's going to take away a lot of those receptions, in between the 20s, and Ebron's number is going to be pretty touchdown dependent now, which I still think will score sometimes, but it'll be very touchdown dependent. You're not going to see the 9 reception games out of Eric Ebron anymore. Let's see here. Fournette's back. Steve's going to be happy about that going forward. And they really treated him correctly. This is a young running back that they didn't force back in the lineup. They said, this is the goal. We're going to back Week 10. And, he starts off the week this week, full practice, ready to go, no injury label. He's ready to go 100%. So he could get a huge number out of Fournette, which could give me some trouble. AJ Green is out for me. AJ Green has a toe problem that he's not going to have surgery on, but it seems very ambiguous, and this troubles me going forward. AJ Green, definitely somebody I would use a first or second round draft pick. I think a second round draft pick on. And it looks like he might be out a few weeks. I'm definitely going to have to roster him still, but that's something that in the future, when we get playoff time, if he's still lingering around with a toe injury, you might say AJ Green he's got to go. Tim would like this. What would Tim like about a matchup in fantasy football? Well, Tim would like it when you have a matchup with 2 kickers projected at double-digit points. Oh, yes. Matchup of the Titans for Tim. He's going to be watching nothing but the KC matchup with Harrison Butker versus the Pittsburgh matchup of Chris Boswell. both double-digit scores this week projected. I hope Tim sits back and enjoys the field goals. And then a couple roster decisions that I have to make. I have to start either Nick Chubb, Adrian Peterson, or Jordan Howard. Haven't made up my mind on this one yet. I think I am still looking at Peterson right now because it's at Tampa Bay. I think the Redskins have been coming on the last couple weeks. But, I mean, Nick Chubb got some love last week. Howard scored a touchdown last week. It's going to be a tough call for me. I think at the end of the day, I'll go with the veteran. I'll go with Adrian Peterson. You know, it's just where my gut is with that one. The projections are all the same. And then I have Jets versus Buffalo. Oh, gosh, why do I have that there? Oh, I know why I do. Is that, you know, I have been tough on the Buffalo Bills on this podcast. I'll be the first to admit it. But actually, there's an interesting waiver wire pickup that Steve could make. You could pick up the Buffalo Bills and play them against the New York Jets. Now, why? Sam Darnold out this week. I mean, Buffalo's defense, I mean, although they've put up, you know, they've given up some points, they've put up some numbers on a week-in and week-out basis, despite their offense being so putrid. It's definitely a decision he might want to have to make. Right now, he has the Indianapolis Colts playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I said Jaguars for you, Anthony. I think the Bills are probably a better play, and I'd like to see him do that. Shocking out with a win. Third matchup of the week, we're going to go to the Sweden House Buffet versus the Breeze Knees. And the Breeze Knees are hot. And I think, I don't know, and show notes, Drake or Fitzgerald, pick up San Francisco or Jacksonville, running back stack, Mack, Ingram, or Tate, and great depth. So I think we're starting off with Jamie's team here. We're going to go, she's got a matchup or a managerial decision to make, whether she starts at Kenyon Drake or Larry Fitzgerald. And Kenyon Drake has been a boom or bust player, and he relies very heavily on his limited pass receptions. Now, he makes good on them a lot of the times, but last week I don't think he puts up a huge number, only like 6 or 7 fantasy points. Only carried the ball 3 times. Saw the ball out of the backfield a few times, but he didn't make good on them. And Larry Fitzgerald is a consummate pro who will be playing against at Kansas City, where I see Kansas City being up big in that game. And Fitzgerald plays like they don't. If they're down, 31-0 at halftime, Fitzgerald's still going to play. And I don't care who they got throwing the ball. I mean, you got Larry Fitzgerald on your team and you're down 30 points, you're probably going to try and find him. So I like the Fitzgerald play there for Jamie over Kenyon Drake. I think pick up San Francisco or Jacksonville is what my note actually says. And her defense is on bye. She's probably going to roster the Minnesota Vikings after the big 10-sack performance, which I don't mind. But I think she should pick up one of those two defenses. Who does Frisco have this week? Frisco has the Giants this week on Monday Night Football. I think that's a good pickup play. Play the 49ers versus the Giants. Eli's bound to throw a pick or two. The Giants really have struggled to score points, so at the very least, it's definitely a high floor defensive play, in my opinion. So I think that's a key to her win this week. Running back stack. Guys, the best running back tandem we have in our league is definitely on Mike's team, Sweden House Buffet. Rosters both Melvin Gordon and Saquon Barkley. And Mark Ingram. You gotta give it to them. I mean, those are 3 solid running backs that everybody would start on a week in and week out basis. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, they won't, because he picked up Marlon Mack a couple weeks ago. I mean, Marlon Mack has been solid the last couple weeks, putting up big fantasy numbers. And I think that this is a thing where we move into our next one. He's got to make a decision if he's going to play. We've got the decision over 4 players. Now, the first one I'll talk about is Sony Michel. I don't know that Michel will be back this week, and I think that's just a good enough reason to sit him. And again, I talked about how James White has taken over a lot of the running back duties and doing a nice job. So I think Michel's a sit. So then we go to Golden Tate. New in Philadelphia. Could be tough for him to get involved in the offense immediately. So I think Tate's a sit. Now, currently, Mike has Mark Ingram starting. Let him down last week. Ingram should get a majority of the goal line touches, but Kamara's been kind of peeking into those, so it's tough to say. Mark Ingram's definitely a veteran that I like having on my roster, so you can plug and play whenever you want to. But at the end of the day, I go with Marlon Mack. Just a younger, more explosive player, someone that might put up a few more points for you. And I think that might be the key to his possible victory this week. And Mike just has great depth, and one of the products of great depth is having to make tough decisions. So I think Marlon Mack is the key for you this week. At the end of the day, though, I've got to go with the hot team, the big team, the team that put up 177 big fantasy points last week, and the Breeze Knees gets a win. Next match we're going to go look into is 4th and 20 versus auto draft. So Jack's team versus Derek's team. Let's see here. My notes go Thompson versus Tampa Bay. Fournette is back. Buffalo defense. Let's see here. Good matchup, and depth is an issue still. Let's see here. So what am I talking about here with Chris Thompson for Derek's team? He's not on his roster. He's not on anybody's roster. And Derek is starting TJ Yeldon. So, yes, go out right now, click I want Chris Thompson, and drop one of your kickers and start Chris Thompson. Because the Redskins are playing Tampa Bay, one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And Chris Thompson is a catch-passing running back. So I think that's a play over TJ Yeldon. Because, as my second note says, Leonard Fournette's back. TJ Yeldon is not the guy. He wasn't the guy to start with. They're going to give the ball to Fournette. They're going to grind with Fournette. Yeldon is nothing but a third down back. He is Theo Riddick, and nobody's starting Theo Riddick. So, Derek, just don't start TJ Yeldon. Buffalo defense. Let's see here. Oh, because he picked up Buffalo's defense. Sorry, I was incorrect about the other one. So Derek's already picked up Buffalo's defense. I like that play. It's a good plug and play. I'm sure it's a bye week trouble issue for him, or maybe he's just playing defense by wire, which is fine too. And this is a good, sneaky, good play, I think, in my opinion. And then let's see here. Oh, as always, we look at Jackson. We look at the Kansas City Chiefs matchup, and they've got another good one. The Chiefs are home against the Arizona Cardinals. Probably going to put up a big number with Mahomes and Kareem Hunt. And I will say it one more time ad nauseum that he still has depth is an issue for Jack's team. And this is something that, the injury bug hasn't come up to him too much. He's been able to get those big performances out of Mahomes and out of Kareem Hunt. But we're starting Lockett, we're starting Funchess. Those just are not premier receivers. And I think it will cost him. Maybe not this week, but it will cost him in the future. I've got to go with Jack's team just because of the matchups. I will go with Jack's team because of the matchups. If his KC matchup is good, I'm going to go with him. If it's poor or even neutral, I will go with his opponent. Matchup of the week. Going back to the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome, dome. We've got Alex Giddings versus Anthony Johnson. I hope there's a lot of smack talk out there. I hope you guys are texting back and forth. I want to see some stuff on the message boards. We get started early with this one because Anthony's got his Carolina Panthers playing tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football in a great matchup, actually. I think it's Carolina at Pittsburgh. Notes for this week is Des Bryant. The matchups of the LA Rams and the Carolina Panthers. Marquez Valdez, which sounds like an oil ship that sank a few years ago, or a couple decades ago, actually. Le'Veon Bell, Ridley, Breida or Carson. Let's see here. Jones or Robinson and Chicago's defense. We'll start with Des Bryant. Des Bryant gets signed by the New Orleans Saints today, I believe. I had a buddy of mine call me up, very trusted fantasy football, savant, colleague, whatever you want to call him, and said, hey, Des Bryant got signed by the Saints. What do you think? And I think that Drew Brees gets the ball to whoever's open, and there's a reason that Des Bryant doesn't have a job yet, and he just got a job today. That really Des Bryant might get the fifth most targets on that team. and that's not even going to start week 1. They'll probably start in a couple weeks. He might be getting the 5th most targets on that team. So I don't mind Alex picking him up as a flyer for fun, if he can afford to. But I don't think it's going to pay off for him in the long run. Carolina or the LA Rams. I think this matchup comes down to if the Carolina Panthers show up or if the LA Rams show up. We've got Alex Giddings rostering both Gurley and Goff, and we have Anthony's team rostering both McCaffrey and Cam Newton. Tough matchup for Carolina, going to Pittsburgh, and the LA Rams have, let's see here, LA Rams are playing at home against Seattle, which is better because they're at home, and it doesn't seem like the Rams are going to score some points. So I think I'm going to give the nod to Alex there as far as your key players in their matchups. Marquez Valdez. This is a receiver for the Green Bay Packers. I think it's Marquez Valdez something else. He's got too long of a name. Doesn't even fit on the back of his jersey. It like wraps around his shoulder pads. But this is a good pickup. This guy that last week got a couple big passes from Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's an upgrade for him at wide receiver. Le'Veon Bell. From what I read, Le'Veon Bell is not going to play this year. And I've been critical of Anthony in some ways and complimentary in other ways because he does have James Conner. He picked him up early in the season, and he's been able to afford to roster Le'Veon Bell. But I don't think Le'Veon Bell's going to play this year. I think he's going to be more than happy to go ahead and just say, okay, I didn't play this year, but under those rules, he gets to get another franchise tag from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's not going to pay him $20 million a year next year. So they definitely didn't pay him $14 this year. And Bell must be counting on Pittsburgh in the offseason being able to trade him for a valuable asset. They could still own his rights. I don't know how it all worked, but something's going to happen where Le'Veon Bell just is not going to play this year. Calvin Ridley should start for Anthony's team on a week-in and week-out basis. He is starting this week. I do like that. At Cleveland, Cleveland definitely gave up a bunch of points to Kansas City last week. Tough. Cleveland's a dumpster fire now that they've decided that they're going to have a new coach, and they're definitely done. So I could definitely see Calvin Ridley maybe getting a big touchdown pass. I like that play for him. As far as Alex's team goes, we've got a couple decisions to make. We've got to play either Chris Carson or Matt Breida. I'd go with Breida against the New York Giants over Chris Carson, who he has in the lineup right now at the LA Rams. I think the Rams are going to get early in that game. Running game is going to be abandoned, and you're going to see Mike Davis in the game a lot more than you're going to see Chris Carson. I've got a questionable tag on Chris Carson. Not sure what that's about, but I think Breida's the play here. I think that you can see San Francisco actually be a very competitive game there where we're trying to control the clock. We're trying to make something happen in the running game, and Breida's the play there. Marvin Jones or Allen Robinson. That's a tough one because I think Robinson's had some injury problems this year. I like Allen Robinson. I liked him when he was a Jacksonville Jaguar. I haven't liked him as much as a Chicago Bear. So I stick with Marvin Jones. I mean, for another week, I'd play Jones over Allen Robinson. I mean, who the Lions even play this week? That's how much I care about the Lions. Nobody else should. I just wish they were on a bye because then I wouldn't have to have two TVs up. I'd have a TV up on a competitive game. The Lions are dumpster fire-ish. Let's see here. So we've got... Oh, they play each other. So yeah, you definitely play Allen Robinson. So I'm sure the Lions are bound to give a big score to somebody. Yeah, I'll play Allen Robinson, then I take that back. I don't want to play Marvin Jones. I don't like the Lions at all right now. It's driving me nuts. And then I talked about the variance of defenses. This is an opportunity for Alex's team to put up a big number on the defensive end. Chicago Bears defense starting for him. Definitely somebody he's rostered. Definitely a defense he's rostered all year long. And this is one of those matches where it's going to pay off. I think the Lions and Bears play twice in the next 3 weeks. And he's going to have 2 weeks here where he's going to have a huge opportunity of variance where he might be able to put up 20-plus points at the defensive position, which just printing money when you do something like that. I'm going to go with Alex's team here for the win. I think Yahoo has it projected as a tie pretty much. I think Anthony's projected by 1 more point, so a minor upset, I guess. But I like Alex's team here. I just like the matchups more. I think Carolina could struggle in Pittsburgh, and I know that the LA Rams are probably going to put up big points. That's all I got for you. My name is David Robinson. This is Fantasy Weekly. I want to thank Clubhouse BFD. Big Founders Day today. I had a bunch of taps out there. Starting to get my footing in the restaurant a little bit more. Really just trying to not have the highs get too high, don't have the lows get too low, and you'll be better off that way. Griffin Claw Brewing Company, Ronald Reagan. I'm out, guys. Thanks a lot.